Are now 101 World of Wellness. We are live here, 11 o'clock, Friday. Beautiful day outside. The crowd is rocking, right? Can't just hear 'em. Everybody's excited. So there it is. All right. Thank you, Phil. So we are here um, for all kinds of things going on today and all week long. We have free food, free samples, free literature. You can ask all the experts like myself on any different health issue, of course, and the specials going on, the best deals around in the entire country. So I do these talks again. Let me introduce myself. For those who don't know, my name is Mike Gallagher. I'm a certified lifestyle educator. I've been in the industry almost 30 years. I've been at every single one of these events, all 101. Nobody else can say that, Phil, right? So I've seen a lot of fantastic things, and we talk about all different types of health issues and ways that we can help. Of course, we're not making any claims, and we're not telling you to get off any medications. You always want to work with your prescribing physicians on your medications. But today we're going to talk about two really important subjects: diabetes and weight loss. Okay. And again, this is a major issue. And if it doesn't pertain to you, I guarantee you know somebody it does, even in your own family, right? And so when it comes to blood sugar issues and diabetes, again, the statistics are skyrocketing. And is every diabetic overweight? No, but 8 out of 10 are, right? So there's a huge connection there with um, overweight, obesity, and blood sugar. Okay, so we've coined this new terminology, diabesity, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing again is if you look at the statistics with blood people with diabetic, you know the challenging part about this is that I really feel the medications really enable people to just basically enjoy everything that they just life's a party. They're going to eat whatever they want to eat. They just continue to take medications, and then if sooner or later, then they first of all they start losing their feelings. We call this neuropathy, and that's really the first sign of many things to come. And again, loss of feeling or very painful numbness in the fingers and toes. And we have a formula that can really help with that called neuropathies, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But to me, this is the first sign of many signs to come. Okay, so this is what I want people to realize is that the statistics are for diabetes is that usually, other than neuropathy, usually there's no other major health issues the first 10 years. Okay, but it's years 10 through 20 that things can go horribly wrong. Okay, so years 10 through 20, the statistics are the chance of you having a heart attack is 50%, 50. Okay, because there's a strong connection with blood sugar and diabetes and heart, okay, and cardiovascular function. The chance of you losing your eyesight and going blind in the second 10 years is 75%. And this is known as diabetic retinopathy. And it's the leading cause of blindness for people over 40 in the United States. And then the chance of you losing your kidneys and having to go kidney dialysis or getting a kidney transplant is 75%. So again, to me, once you start being a diabetic and you go the medication route, it's kind of like you're slowly bleeding to death. No, not physically bleeding, but internally, your organ system slowly over time, especially your kidneys and your eyes and your heart, over time shut down. And so people don't realize this. They don't hear these statistics until it's too late. So hopefully we're trying to turn this around. Now, the good news is we can turn things around really quickly if you're committed to the program. By the way, for those who don't believe me, everything that I just said and that we can turn around, there's a very famous book It's called the Diabetes Solution. It's written by a medical doctor, Dr. Bernstein, who was a diabetic, and he did everything he was taught at med school, and it was getting worse and worse. And then he changed his diet, completely different than what dietitians recommend in the hospital, different than the food pyramid. We'll talk about those foods in a second. And he used the right nutrients, and he was able to turn around. So again, it's not me just saying this, or a medical doctor saying it. So that's a very famous book out there if you want to check it out. The Diabetes Solution by Dr. Bernstein. And it's very interesting because he really gets in detail about how medical doctors are taught to treat blood sugar. And usually the diet doesn't really come into play whatsoever. And to us, it's the most important thing. So let's start with that first, and then we'll get into more specific formulas dealing with the blood sugar and then overall weight loss in general. And again, the key word we would use is jumpstarting this. And if you already are on medication, blood sugar medication, you got to be checking your numbers. You got to be testing yourself frequently. And as your numbers improve, hopefully you need less and less your medication. Again, working with your PCP on this. So if you go to our website, as we'll go to, so this is nutritionalfrontiers.com, www.nutritionalfrontiers.com. We just came out with a brand new site. We've improved it greatly. It's a lot easier now to access and get to the different different conditions and the different formulas. So each one of these categories you can see about us, about our team. You see all the different type of quality testing certifications, all the different patent and trademarked ingredients, the studies that we go through, all the different events that we have, and we have many of them. And then you have the catalog where you can look at each individual formula as well. But then we get into this category called wellness solutions. So if we click on this, okay, and then we'll takes us to this screen. So we have all your 12 major ones that we hear constantly. All right. So if we look at blood sugar, okay, so we just simply click on that, right? And it gives you the different formulas, and we'll talk about those formulas here in a minute. But we just simply just click on the View Solutions Guide. And so this just looks like one of our brochures that we would have at the clinic. And you just click on it. So over here on the right-hand side, the arrow opens it up. So that's pretty cool, right? So it's all about the food, folks. So we wanted to list here what you should be eating. Let's not dwell on what you can't or should not be eating, but let's focus on the foods that you should be. So these are all what we would classify as Mediterranean style diet. They're very low glycemic foods, and we broke it down by different food groups. Okay. So again, if you just eat these foods consistently, your numbers should come down. Okay. And I always ask somebody, and then if we could flip on the back side here, we have some additional ones. So we try to make this as simple as possible. But I always ask a diabetic who doesn't check their blood sugar, and I always ask them, you mean there's no difference between eating pizza, beer, and ice cream for dessert versus healthy salad with some balsamic vinegar, dressing, steamed vegetables, and some salmon or chicken, grilled, right? You mean to tell me there's no difference in your blood sugar? There's no difference in how you feel? And of course, they look at you like, yeah, there is. There's a huge difference, right? So you got to be checking your blood sugar, folks, if you're a diabetic. I know they drill this into your head at the hospital when you first go through it. I know being a diabetic, there's lots of stages and phases of being a diabetic. Usually the first is anger. Why me? Second is denial. Can't be me. And the third, then we get to the crossroads. Is, are you going to do something to turn it around? I know in the medical allopathic community, they feel that there's no hope. But folks, we can turn this around very quickly in 3 months. We've seen numerous cases, testimonials with this. Um, the other thing too that I want to emphasize is I mentioned at the beginning that everybody knows somebody who is a diabetic, and for me, it's really close to home because my father was a diabetic, and so he hit unfortunately every single stat you can hit. Just kind of give you a brief history. At 40, he was diagnosed. At 50, as type 2 diabetic. At 50, he had his first heart attack. At 55, he did quadruple bypass. At 59, he lost his eyesight. At 60, and had to retire from a military government job. He worked all his life. At age 60, he lost his kidneys. And basically, once you had to go on kidney dialysis, and they told him he wasn't eligible for a transplant, kidney transplant. So typically, when you go on kidney dialysis, at that point, you have 3 to 5 years life, and he lasted 3 years, and he died at 63. So again, it's very tragic. The last few years of his life was brutal on my mom and my family, and I don't want to see anybody go through that. So typically, again, when we work with diabetics, they feel helpless and hopeless. Um, Again, it's been drilled into their heads that there's no hope, and I'm telling you, folks, we can turn it around very, very quickly. Okay, so I don't want you to be another statistic. I want you to live that life that my father did. So again, we're trying to give you steps and ways, but it all starts with these foods. Okay, so I used to see on his diet plan, bagels, white bread, you know, um, milk, and all kinds of crazy stuff. Things that you would just think are not acceptable, are in the normal meal plan that the dietitians are recommending for diabetics, and that's part of the problem. So I always ask any diabetic, I say, is it working? What you're doing right now, is it working? Are you getting worse or are you getting better? And if you're honest with yourself, I think you would admit that it's not getting any better. It might really help your blood sugar, but it leads to all these other health issues. And then I always ask them, what about the side effects from the medications? I know a lot of people on metformin, glucophage, they feel nauseous, upset stomach. They hate the way it makes them feel, and I don't know any answers. And again, we're here to give you some answers today on blood sugar. So again, keep that in mind. The last thing I would always tell somebody who is a diabetic who's very stubborn, and my dad was as stubborn as he get, is just to take a little trip down to the nearest kidney dialysis center. And I want you to ask every single person that's sitting in the chair if they had to change their life, would they? Because if you live that long to actually make it to be on kidney dialysis, it's not 1 hour. You're sitting in that chair, it's 4 hours, and it's 3 days a week. And after you get done, usually you're wiped out, and you're wiped out the next day. And that was my dad's life for 3 years. So again, this is like the ghost of Christmas future is kidney dialysis centers. And we know there's one popping up now in every corner, and that's how bad it is. But again, we want to share with people to give them that hope. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. But it starts with the foods, so we can't emphasize that enough. Okay, so um, we mentioned neuropathy, so I want to show you this formula for neuropathy. So we just click on the photo, and then right there it says view product flyer. Okay. So this formula we've had some incredible success with neuropathy. And again, a medical doctor will say there's nothing you can do. There's no drug in the world that can help with neuropathy. Maybe, gabapentin, Neurontin temporarily, but that's not going to regenerate nerve cells. And even though we can't make that claim, we've seen some incredible cases with neuropathy, 20-year cases of diabetic neuropathy that within just a few days they started getting their feelings back in their fingers and toes. Okay, so this form is very unique. It has a lot of great ingredients in it. It's basically, I say, it's like a B vitamin on steroids. Okay, so you have your Bs in all your absorbable forms, which is critical as well. And then you have some alpha lipoic acid in there that has great research as well to help with neuropathy. We have some minerals in there, what also would help, but it has some boswellia to help with the inflammation and pain. And then you have this very unique ingredient, benfonanine. And this ingredient actually has, it's like a extract of B vitamin that actually has research for neuropathy as well. So keep that in mind, is what makes this unique. Now, the dosage, if you have neuropathy, is going to be different than what is on the bottle. So always keep in mind, typically the dosage is for maintenance or prevention. It's not if you actually have a condition. So we get the best results with a temporary loading dose as 6 a day. So we prefer 2 morning, 2 noon, 2 evening, or 3 and 3. But 6 a day is where we get the best results. And we should know in one bottle, yep, one bottle or less, usually just a few days, if this is helping with the neuropathy. Okay, so for a diabetic, it's the first place that we start with. If we can reverse neuropathy, we can get those feelings back in their fingers and toes, and they don't have any pain, and you're usually more open to the rest of the program. Okay, so just want to emphasize that um, first and foremost, if that is your number one issue. Okay, now let's talk about some other options. So I already have these already set up. So the second option that we would recommend for any type of blood sugar issue is called glucolyze. Okay. So this has other nutrients in it that has great research to help balance out blood sugar as well. And the other point we want to emphasize, you see where it says tracks. So if we go down to the bottom here, so we're using the supplier Albion, and Albion is the oldest mineral manufacturer in the world. And always keep in mind, folks, that no supplement company makes their own minerals. They all have to outsource them. And so a lot of companies cut corners on their minerals, trying to save pennies and dollars. But not us. We want to give you the most absorbable. So anytime you see that track, stands for the real amino acid chelator. So again, another name for mineral is a rock. It's really difficult for your body to break down and absorb rocks. So you need to um, transform them, or we call it chelate them, into a protein in order for your body to absorb it. So Albion is the oldest mineral manufacturer. They have the most published research on their minerals, and they also have a very unique patent process, ionic bonding process, to make sure you're getting the most absorbability with their minerals. Now, if it's the best, why doesn't every supplement company use them? Because they're the most expensive, right? So again, we always have a saying, and the saying is the most expensive vitamin is one that doesn't work. We're always trying to give you the most absorbable. It might cost a little bit more, but in the long run, it'll be worth it for you if it's actually working, right? That's the key. Also, we have cinnamon, which by itself, there's studies. Here's one we listed: taking 1 gram a day significantly reduce blood sugar. So if we look at the supplemental facts, you're getting 500 milligrams per 2 caps. So the recommended on this to get the therapeutic dose is 4 capsules a day. Okay. So on a suggested use, 2 twice a day is how we look at this. There's the R form now of alpha lipoic acid. This is the active form, better form of alpha lipoic acid we're now using, plus taurine, your B vitamins, again, the active forms, and Vanadel, another great mineral that has research as well to help with blood sugar. And then some decaffeinated green tea, the extra extract of green tea, EGCG, from an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory aspect of it. So you can buy every one of these individually, or you can buy one thing that has everyone in there. And that's what we're trying to do. The synergy of this will give you faster, quicker results. And we try to make it as convenient as possible. at 4 capsules a day. Again, I do recommend taking it 30 minutes prior to eating. It will have additional appetite suppressant benefit. But if you forget, just take it with your meal. But this is always our starting place if you have any type of blood sugar issues. Okay. So that's our number one. Now, recently we came out with a new formula. This is a brand new tincture, Berberine Plus. And so, berberine, by the way, we use berberine already in our candy kill. So it does have a lot of great benefits and uses um, through the aspect. So it's really, as we can see here, it's derived from your various wild plants such as golden seal and gold thread. But it's, again, very unique, and it basically helps with all these different aspects. It can help with cholesterol, triglycerides, anti-inflammatory, it's anti-cancer, on and on and on and on, antifungal, which is why we use it in our candy kill. But there's a lot of research now showing it helps with blood sugar, and it has a very similar mechanism of action to glucophage or metformin. Okay. In addition to the berberine, we also added cinnamon. And as I mentioned before, there's great research that helps lowering the blood sugar. Now, again, the other point we want to emphasize is the number one test for blood sugar is your hemoglobin A1C. So this is a 3-month window of looking at your blood sugar. So yes, you have your fasting blood glucose and so forth, but that's really a snapshot of your blood sugar. The A1C is really looking at a 3-month. It takes 3 months to change blood sugar and A1C test. So if you're going to try any of these formulas, we want to try for 3 months, then go back to your PCP and get the blood work. Okay, so that's how we look at this. So the other point with the tincture is it's going to give you the fastest, quickest, because it's a liquid, gets into your bloodstream much faster than any pill would. Also, the strength that we're using, berberine, is going to be the strongest that you can make. Okay, so again, that's the whole idea with berberine and why we put it in a tincture with cinnamon. So the dosage we would recommend if you have blood sugar issues would be 1 dropper full. I recommend it before every major meal, right before. One full dropper. Now, sometimes the tinctures only come to halfway in the tube, so you want to do 2 halves to get that 1 full dropper in. Recently, though, when this came out, one of my other accounts has a family member with who's a diabetic, and he's been using the glucophage. He likes it. He's seen benefits. He's seen his number come down. But when we came out with the berberine, he added this to it, and he said he noticed it right away. He said he wasn't as hungry, really helped his appetite. And when he was testing his blood sugar, he said he saw a significant reduction when he added berberine. So that would be my top 2 formulas that I would recommend for anybody with blood sugar issues would be the glucophage, 4 cups a day, along with the berberine tincture, 1 dropper full before breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, every major meal. So that is on the blood sugar side. And again, can't emphasize this enough. You want to follow the food program. Okay, follow that food program because those are all going to be the best low glycemic foods. If you need assistance or guidance on this, make an appointment here at the clinic with Jeff Nisnik, who's a nutritionist. He can really help and guide you, or Dr. Phil Ross, who can order some blood work for you and lab tests if you need that as well. So we get all different resources here, folks, that help you if you need a coach. And just keep in mind, even professional athletes need coaches. Okay. So that is how we look at it from the blood sugar side. Now, let's take a look at it from the weight loss side. Okay. And again, is every diabetic overweight? No, but 8 out of 10 are. So, kind of in the same line, let's talk about this formula, baritone. So, the baritone is focused on hormones that are in your fat tissue One is called leptin, and one is called adiponectin. And these are controlled by blood sugar. And these affect how hungry you are. And every diabetic, folks, is out of balance in one of these two hormones. Okay. So this would be, if you are diabetic, this would be my number one weight loss formula for you is baritone, because this is really what's going on. When you say you're hungry and you're always hungry, even after you eat, you're hungry, you're still hungry. You're not joking. I believe you, because it's actually a biochemical situation going on with these two hormones. And that is why you are so hungry. So if we can rebalance these hormones, leptin and adiponectin, you won't be hungry, and it will indirectly help with your blood sugar all at the same time. So those would be my top three formulas if you are diabetic that is overweight. All right. Now, again, we can get into more detail with this. The other unique thing about this formula, folks, is it has this ingredient in it, white mulberry. So it's the only supplement, only herb we've seen. It's a traditional medicine herb from Asia. It's been used for thousands of years, but it actually has studies that help even with type 1 diabetes. Now, are we going to reverse type 1 diabetes? No. But can we help manage your blood sugar so you don't need as much insulin, so you don't have these roller coaster crash and burn days? Yes. So white mulberry is a very unique herb that will actually help with both type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So again, if you know anybody in that situation, this would be our number one. Okay. Again, let's go through the list. We have some green tea in there, and decaffeinated green tea. We want to emphasize that. We have African mango. We have some green coffee bean extract, and that helps and give you a little energy boost, as well as it helps slow the release of blood sugar into the bloodstream. And by the way, we also have this ingredient in our Pro Oranges. So from a fruit and veggie standpoint, that also will help as far as blood sugar goes. So keep that in mind. So that's another tool that we can use on the blood sugar standpoint. And then we have raspberry ketones. So this has been around for many years. And so this is focusing on that adiponectin that we talked about. So this formula covers both leptin and the adiponectin, both. Okay. And again, some people are out of balance on one, some people are out of balance on both. And this formula will work on both. So that's how we look at baritone. Now, the recommended is 2 capsules twice a day before meals. So I typically recommend 30 minutes. 30 minutes before, it will have additional appetite suppressant. So you can take this right along with your glucolyze, 2 and 2, and it's going to give you even faster, quicker results. Okay. So that's another way that we look at blood sugar and weight. Now, let's talk about some other options and tools that we have for weight loss. So next would be Garcinia. So Garcinia is mainstream likes to call it a powerful appetite suppressant. I prefer to use the term portion control, because you can still eat organic and still go super crazy and still gain weight. But if you're having trouble with your portions, that's where Garcinia really fits in. So you might also hear sometimes it's called hydroxycitric acid. So that's the extract of this. So this is a fruit. We're using the strongest amount that you can possibly use. Plus, we added some additional nutrients in there as well. But what's amazing about this is that it reduces the conversion of carbohydrates into stored fat by inhibiting certain enzymes. Okay. So it won't reduce the fat you already have, but it will help with the conversion for any future storage. Okay. And if you don't exercise, which we recommend strongly, so should have mentioned that with the weight loss program, we want to exercise, of course, at least 30 minutes a day, if possible, but it can help with that too. Then we have the HCA. So we talked about that, the hydroxycitrate, but it reduces the fat from forming, and it does it almost 40 to 70%, 8 to 12 hours after a meal. So folks, that's huge. It reduces that food intake. And again, what people will usually feel and notice is the appetite very quickly, and they usually have more energy as well, but it can reduce food consumption by roughly 10%. So that again, if you are struggling with the portion control, we added chromium, which helps with blood glucose. We talked about that already in the glucolyze as well. Okay, so here's how we would dose this. Okay, I typically go by body weight. So if you're under 200 pounds, I recommend one capsule 30 minutes before breakfast and one capsule 30 minutes before lunch. So 2 a day. If you don't feel that appetite suppressant working, then I would double the dose after 2 days. Again, majority people usually notice it right away. But if you don't, then we need to increase the dosage. So give it a couple days, 2 days. If not, then we would double the dose to 2 and 2. Okay. If you weigh over 200 pounds to begin with, I just start with 2 and 2. Unless you're super sensitive to medications or vitamins, you can always start lower and then build up. But that is typically I recommend a dosage and where we will look at the dosage. Okay, so most people 2 a day works great, but sometimes you do need to go a little bit higher. So it does take a little bit of experimentation the first couple times with the Garcinia. Okay, so that's another way that we look at it, portion control. Now, next, control. So this is working on cortisol, okay? And those cortisol can cause craving. So again, a classic example of this is stress eating. So if you've had a bad day at work or a bad situation going on in your world, again, you want to take it out on a refrigerator or the nearest fast food place, right? You have those cravings, those urges. Again, that's where this formula works best. Okay. Stress eating. But there's some other unique things about this formula too that I just want to mention. And that would be really for any type of addictive type of behavior. So whether it's cigarette smoking, so nicotine addiction, alcohol addiction, or drug addiction, this formula may be able to help. So they all have very similar cortisol pathways. And to me, food is the most addictive drug there is, especially sugar. But if you know somebody who has these other issues going on, then that's where this formula could help. Okay. And we've had cases that we've seen it work when nothing else worked. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. It's not just for weight loss, it can be used for those other cases. And we'll talk about a couple of those here in a minute. So, what's in this? Fenugreek. Okay. So, again, helps with blood sugar. That herb, very powerful. Again, helps with appetite and carbohydrate cravings. We have two different aminos, tryptophan and L-theanine, right? So these help with the emotional stress side, very calming and relaxing. And again, lowering cortisol can help reduce those carbohydrate cravings. And those two aminos help with that. And then we have rhodiola, which is an herb, again, focusing on stress. So your adrenal side of things, which again impacts your cortisol and these cravings. So again, you can buy every one of these individually, or you can put it together in one formula and take one thing. And that's what we're trying to do. So for normal cravings, okay, just if you just generally have, you're stressed and you have those stress craving issues, we would recommend one capsule 3 times a day. So one morning, one noon, one in the evening, okay, dinner time. However, if you are having a situation, a very stressful day, and again, you have those urges and cravings, then we need to be more aggressive. And we would recommend all 3 capsules all at the same time. And we just have to hold on for 15 to 20 minutes because it usually takes about that long for it to start working. But then it usually does work. And again, it can last all day long. It can last several hours. Everybody's different. We've seen all different types of cases through the years with this. But if this is you, that's how we look at this. So let me give you an example. So one of my, we had a case where it was a cigarette smoker. and he was a 2-pack a day, 20-year habit of smoking cigarettes. And he said he tried everything. Tried the patch, tried the gum, tried the shot, did hypnosis, and he still had cigarette cravings. So I suggested this formula. I said, try this. You've tried everything else, right? Try this. You got nothing to lose. So I said, as soon as you feel those cravings, take 3. So for him, as soon as he woke up, he wanted a cigarette. So that's 5:30, 6 in the morning. So he took 3 caps. He held on for 15 minutes, and the cravings went away. Now, again, for him, it lasted till about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The formula started wearing off. He started having those cravings again. So he took another 3. But again, he held on, and he was able to not smoke. He did not have those cravings. And so for the first time, control was the name of this formula, right? So he was able to kick a 20-year habit in one day with this formula. And I do actually even have drug and alcohol counselors that I work with that use this for even hardcore drugs like heroin and cocaine that use this formula. Okay. So again, person has to have willpower. We can't bottle that up. So you have to at least want to try to give up these things. But this can help you. And this is the biochemistry of it, is the cortisol. So not just for food, not just for carbohydrates, but for other more serious issues, this could help you. And again, 1-3 times a day normally, but if you're having those urges, 3 at once, and hold on for 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, so if that is you, give this a chance. All right, so keep that in mind. Last one we're going to talk about is tone and lean. Okay, so where does this fit? So yes, it can help with cortisol too, but it's more for belly fat. Okay, this is one of the most unique formulas that actually has published studies, and there's hundreds of studies on CLA, conjugated linoleic acid, that helps with body fat overall, but also specifically the belly region. Okay. So if this is you, and for a lot of people overweight, this is you, then this would be the best formula for that. So it's a good fat. Okay. It's different than any other type of fat, but it's a good fat that burns the bad fat. Okay. Very simple, but you have to take the right amount in order for this to work. It also has other benefits. It can help with blood sugar as well and cholesterol. And we've had cases that people who were trying to lower the cholesterol, all they took was Tonalene for 3 months and retested, and their cholesterol levels back to normal. So we've seen that. It will help with blood sugar, just like any other good fat would. It can help with energy as well and improve muscle mass, and is very popular in the bodybuilding athletic world for that. And I should also mention that this is also great for nursing mothers who are trying to lose the baby weight. And it's the only supplement we would recommend for nursing mothers because, again, it's a good fat. So there are several of my other accounts who've had babies in the past and tried this, and they said they noticed a huge difference, and where it really helped jumpstart the weight loss program. So that's another unique niche regarding this formula. Okay. So the key with this is the dosage. Now, the bottle says, again, 1 to 2 times a day. All right. This would be maintenance. This would be preventative. This would not be if you actually have belly fat issues. And again, looking at it statistically, we're looking at 35 inches or more for women, the waist above the belly button, and 40 inches or more for men above the belly button. Okay. So that is what we're looking at from a statistical standpoint. Now, we get the best, fastest results with this formula at 6 a day. At 6 a day. That is the clinical dose. So we would recommend 2 30 minutes before breakfast, 2 before lunch, 2 before dinner. Okay. Or 3 and 3 if you only eat 2 meals, but 6 a day is how we would look at this. Now, reason why 30 minutes, it will have additional feeling of, we call it satiety, right? Fullness, if you take a 30 minutes prior to eating. Okay. Now, this is not overnight. You don't feel this like right away, like you would Garcinia. It does take a couple weeks for this to work. So you got to be consistent with this. But if we have it in a 180 size bottle, so 6 a day would be a 30-day supply. We'll definitely know in those 30 days if this is working. Usually, I would say on average about 2 weeks, 2 weeks consistently to take this. And again, it doesn't matter what age. In fact, again, here's another case I had where it was a mother daughter. So the mother was in her 60s, the daughter was in her 40s. They both exercise. Now the daughter works out a little bit more, being in her 40s, but they each, were focusing on belly fat. Okay. That was a concern for them. So they both did it 6 a day. They both saw significant inches off their waistline. Okay. Now, again, the 40-year-old, because she worked out more, she did lose a little bit more. But the point with this is even the woman in her 60s still lost belly fat. Okay. So, again, it's never too late, but we got to take the right amount. And I was just talking to someone earlier today at the clinic here, at the Wellness Center, World of Wellness, that um, bought this for his girlfriend, and she wasn't taking enough. She was only doing 1 a day. And I said, no, 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 no. You gotta increase this. Sometimes we gotta be more aggressive. So, folks, that's the biggest thing that we see with this one is that with this one, you got to take way more than what the bottle says if you want the results. So just keep that in mind. But there's hundreds and hundreds of studies that shows that CLA, conjugate linoleic acid, will work. Okay, so let's go back to the wellness formulas, right? So we go back to the wellness solutions. We go back looking at all the different options. Okay, and we go down to the bottom. So we already went over the blood sugar one, but here's the weight one. Okay, so we look at View Solutions Guide. You just simply click on that. You click on the arrow, it opens it up. So we have all the different options. Of course, you can always do a protein powder, any of the proteins. We listed Neato Keto as well. Okay, but you can do the protein, you can do the best way, you can do the super shake, you can do the power cleanse, you can do any of them as a meal replacement with ice and water. It's very low calorie. It's a great way to start out your breakfast. But here's the foods right here, folks. Again, anti-inflammatory foods, Mediterranean style. And again, if you don't eat fish or meat, that's fine. If you're vegetarian, that's fine, right? But again, we want to pick these foods in the area and try to reduce your calories every day. Calories in, calories out does matter. We want to exercise. As I said, the more you can do it, at least 30 minutes a day. Very, very important there to emphasize, right? So all these are free. You can print these off at any time, these brochures. But again, we can't out supplement a poor diet. Always keep that in mind. The supplements can help jumpstart a weight loss program. But if you don't focus on these foods consistently, again, we can take 2 steps forward with the supplements, but basically 1 step backwards if we're not eating the right foods. Okay. So I think we've covered a lot today. Hopefully, makes sense. But use the new website, folks. It's all right there, just a couple clicks away. Great information for you guys at any time. Phil, do we have any questions from the audience? Okay. So again, these are being recorded on Facebook, World of Wellness page, on YouTube. So again, if you have people that couldn't be able to listen to this live, you can always refer them to those places to watch the recording. All right, I'll be here again all day today, all day tomorrow, help answer any other questions. Again, everything's on special, free food, free samples, free literature. Come on down. Fantastic time, one of a kind experience. Okay. So otherwise, have a helping, healthy day. God bless.